The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Veronica Vernon, and I'm the chair of the New Practitioner Advisory Committee. I'm very excited that you've decided to join us during the first night of the APhA-ASP webinar week for a webinar that I know will be mutually beneficial for both chapter members as well as our new practitioners that we have on the call tonight. I have two great presenters that have joined us on the call that are going to be sharing their words of wisdom and experiences. Our first presenter is Dr. Deanna Tran, who is currently an assistant professor at the University of Maryland, where she also serves as one of the chapter advisors. And Megan Williams is our second presenter, who is currently an ambulatory care clinical pharmacist at IU Health in Indianapolis, Indiana. She served as a new practitioner mentor at both Virginia Commonwealth University and the University of Cincinnati. Dr. Tran is going to be going over some strategies on how to get new practitioners involved and engaged in chapter activities and share her experiences from an advisor standpoint. And Dr. Williams will be sharing her experiences and knowledge as a new practitioner mentor. We do encourage lots of questions throughout the presentation tonight. We have two wonderful presenters who have a wide variety of experiences and knowledge bases. And it's now my pleasure to hand it over to Dr. Deanna Tran.
Thank you so much, Veronica. Well, good evening, everyone. And I am so excited to be here today to share my experiences with you. And whether you are a new practitioner, a chapter leader, or an advisor on the phone, Megan and I hope that we are able to present what we're able to present today will be helpful to you. To give you a little background on who I am, I graduated from the University of Maryland in 2011, so I am also a new practitioner, and I completed a PGY1 in community pharmacy practice at Virginia Commonwealth University, affiliated with Martin's Pharmacy. Then I returned to the University of Maryland as a faculty member. So last year we had actually two new practitioner mentors that helped serve the chapter, and we recently recruited 3 additional new practitioner mentors for a total of 5 for this incoming year. And we are super excited about that. That's the most number of new practitioner mentors that we've had for our chapter. And I also currently serve as one of your member-at-large of the New Practitioner Advisory Committee. So first off, what exactly is a new practitioner mentor? So overall, a new practitioner mentor is an important resource who helps to assist the chapter. There's no specific template on what that assistance may look like. It really is a coming together of your mentors, advisors, and your chapter leaders to determine what activities the mentor can participate in. And I'm sure that Megan will go over more in depth on some of the activities that new practitioner mentors can participate in. But to give you an idea, here are some examples. Mentors can support chapter leaders and members by providing advice, new ideas, and perspectives on chapter activities. They can also serve as a pharmacist at chapter activities, including patient care projects such as health fairs, policy and advocacy by helping to develop chapter policy statements, for example, and professionalism and chapter development, such as CV workshops. And there are many, many more other activities that we will discuss further later on today's webinar. So for those of you who currently don't have a mentor, or who is interested in inviting more mentors to your chapter, well, lucky for you, we are currently recruiting for more mentors for the 2015-2016 year. And there are actually only a few requirements to be a mentor. So you have to be an active APHA new practitioner member. You cannot be an APhA-ASP advisor or co-advisor, which is a bummer because that means I can't be one. And the last one is what I think is most important, is to have an interest to serve and assist the chapter. Well, you may be wondering, well, how do I find this mentor now that I know what the requirements are and what exactly is a new practitioner mentor? Well, this is a role that I've often taken as an advisor because I interact with a lot of graduates, residents, and other faculty members through various organizations and activities I'm in. But this is also something that our chapter leaders can also take a large role in because they may know the recent graduates a lot better. So either it's an advisor or chapter leaders, it's about asking recent graduates who have stayed in the local area, or if there are any new residents or recent graduates that have moved back to the area. We can really discuss these ideas with your chapter advisor as well in trying to see if any PGY1 or PGY2 residents may be interested, as well as other faculty members who are new practitioners, APHA members, and are interested. So I've been asked in the past if it's better to have a recent graduate that can stay with the chapter longer, or would a PGY1, PGY2 resident be okay? And in my opinion is that, yes, it is. I think that continuity is obviously highly encouraged, and it does take a while to get familiar with the students, how the chapter runs, forming a relationship with the chapter and the chapter members. But I would say at the same time that any role, big or small, is invited and encouraged, even if it's for a limited period of time. And sometimes it's just hard to find a mentor. At our chapter, we've had trouble in recent years finding a mentor for our satellite campus. So sometimes that just happens. So, take the opportunities that are available to you. And also that a chapter can have multiple mentors. So as I mentioned before, at Maryland, we have an incoming of 5 new practitioner mentors. And as one of my co-advisors has said to me, there is never enough mentors. We never say no to any of them. And it's great because that way you can also have mentors in different fields of pharmacy. If you do have trouble or you would like help in finding a new practitioner mentor, you can also contact APHA staff member Tom English, whose email address is on this slide, to help in locating a local new practitioner. So in talking with a new practitioner and discussing with them, you might be wondering, well, there's lots of things that new practitioners can help the chapter, but what does the mentor get out of that relationship? Well, here are some things and even some talking points if a mentor asks any of those kind of questions. So a new practitioner can use this relationship with the chapter to remain inspired and involved. The passion exerted by student pharmacists often really goes unmatched by some of our pharmacists in practice. It's true. So their exposure to students and their passion really helps to rejuvenate their own interests and passions. It's also personally and professionally satisfying to mentor future pharmacists. So a mentor can motivate, shape, and influence student pharmacists and help guide students towards successful careers. And that is not just a mentorship relationship, but it also can build friendships that can last a lifetime. It also adds variety to a mentor's career. It helps to build relationships at a school or college of pharmacy, and it's a great way to establish or expand a new practitioner's practice site for introductory or advanced pharmacy practice experiences. The chapter is also a professional resource to the mentor. Mentoring students is an excellent way to keep abreast of current issues, topics, disease state management, and drug information. It also helps them build their professional network. APHA represents all pharmacists from every practice setting, so serving as a mentor helps to build new and strengthen existing relationships. Lastly, it helps identify future residents and employees, since mentors interact with student pharmacists that can later become the residents or employees, or they may interact in settings like precepting and working with other pharmacists. So my challenge for you, and this is also a goal of the new Practitioner Advisory Committee, is that every APhA-ASP chapter has at least one new practitioner mentor. We'd also have you guys consider having more than one new practitioner mentor from different practice settings. So at Maryland, we have a mentor who is in community pharmacy practice, ambulatory care, one who works in medication therapy management, and one who has a research-focused background. So those are just an example. And I would also encourage you to continue to brainstorm unique ways to get your new practitioner mentor involved in your chapter. And I'm sure we'll hear a lot of great ideas from Megan today from her experiences and ways to get involved. So now that you have found that mentor, which is really exciting, the next thing you want to do is to set the stage. So for any advisors on the phone, this is something that often I, as an advisor, usually take the role and the lead on to introduce and facilitate discussion. I would work with the chapter president to determine the needs of the chapter and brainstorm what are some potential roles that the mentor could assist with. So since we have 3 new practitioners, mentors this year, for the first time, we've decided actually to set a meeting with all of our mentors along with our advisors and chapter president to work together to determine what are the needs of the chapter, what activities that mentors feel they could participate in, even with their, I'm sure, very busy schedules. And together, we hope to discuss and set those expectations. I think that's important to do that together because we want to be respectful of our mentors' time. The next thing is to develop a communication system. So I think that this is important to help mentors become more incorporated in chapter activities. So this could include sharing a calendar, for instance. So at Maryland, we have a Google Calendar where we have all of our chapter activities, and we share that Google Calendar with our mentors. We also have a preceptor list. So this list is not exclusive of just our mentors. It actually includes other pharmacists and faculty members who have agreed over the years to also serve as preceptors for patient care projects. So this is something that mentors can also be added to. Another thing would be listserv email communications. So this would be emails with advisors, emails to just chapter members, as well as those to executive board members. You can also have communication systems with the learning system, so like, for instance, Blackboard, if the mentors can be added to that, or newsletters if you have newsletter communications. So once you've built that framework by discussing expectations, developing a communication system, then you want to make sure you introduce your mentors to the chapter. And you want to do this as often as possible. But highly encourage you to invite the mentors to more than just one event. For instance, a lot of times in the past, we've always just invited our mentors to retreat. And then they go to precept events, and sometimes it's hard for the mentors and the members to build a relationship with that just one meeting. So invite them to things like social events, or find creative ways to have them participate in executive board meetings and other meetings as well. So talking about those meetings, here are some examples of professional development activities that mentors can participate in. So this could include a leader retreat. So at Maryland, we have a leadership retreat at the beginning of the year, and we've always invited our mentor to participate in that. And they could do more than, helping with and providing advice and suggestions. They could help with brainstorming. They could facilitate a breakout session. They could even do your icebreaker. For instance, we've always had our president-elect do our icebreaker, but this is something that the mentors could also do, for instance. They can also assist with chapter meetings, inviting them to, again, executive board meetings, chapter membership meetings. They could help with regional and national meetings. So this could include just talking informally to members and chapter leaders on why go to those meetings, what are the benefits of those meetings. Chapters who hold informational meetings that discuss what MRM and annual meeting is about, that would be a great place for mentors to speak at. If your chapter has requirements for reimbursement, your mentors could be the ones to help pick out, what particular workshops or activities to attend. And the mentors can also help during the meeting. For instance, they can attend the policy proposal forum and the closing business session at MRM. They could attend the APhA-ASP House of Delegates at annual meeting. They could also go with chapter leaders to patient care workshops and the report review session, which is usually with just the chapter leader, like the chapter president and the advisors. We also hold a spring membership drive every year at Maryland, and we usually have one of our mentors do a presentation. So ours is called From Student to Pharmacist, A Prescription for Success, and it discusses what it's like to be on rotations and activities they could be involved with after graduating, including the New Practitioner Network. They can also do informal mentorship. So this could include looking over CVs, talking about career advice, and preparing for interviews. So I've discussed a lot of activities that are usually done in person, but you could also have your mentor participate in activities remotely or at their own time. So this could include setting up a conference call line, for instance, and having your mentor call in so they can listen and participate in executive board meetings and retreats. So the next category I wanted to talk about is patient care. So you could have your mentors help to precept at events such as health fairs. They can also assist with training chapter members. So traditionally at Maryland, we've had training sessions usually held in the fall in preparation for all our patient care projects. But this is something that really our mentors could help with. And it's not that, as an advisor, I don't love doing those training sessions, but it's great to have a new perspective. And a lot of times, they see the advisors and faculty members all the time, so it's great to have someone new. The mentors can also help with the National Patient Counseling Competition. They can do this remotely by helping to judge the videotape competition, and they can also help the winner of the school levels competition prepare for annual meetings. They can also help to proofread reports, such as the chapter achievement report, as well as any handouts or pamphlets that the chairs of the patient care projects develop for health fairs and other activities. So I've only briefly discussed some of the endless possibilities of activities that mentors can participate in. And I would encourage you to continue to brainstorm every year for new ideas on how to get your mentor involved. And ultimately, the greatest benefit of having a mentor is that they continue to inspire the APhA-ASP mission, which is to help recruit new members and spark further interest in current members, because they naturally will talk about, well, why did they join APhA? Why did they stay involved? And why did they decide to become a mentor? Plus, they have great connections with the community. So I'll be remiss to not remind you to always thank your mentors for what they do. So at Maryland, we always thank them by giving them small gifts whenever they speak. We also acknowledge them at the end of the year banquet. The last thing I want to mention is that we do have a new practitioner network, new practitioner mentor toolkit, and this is the chapter edition that you see here on the screen. It can be found on the chapter resource page, and this is through pharmacist.com, and then you would go to APhA-ASP, and then the chapter officer resources. And for the advisors on the phone, if you haven't already seen, there's also a chapter advisor resource under APhA-ASP membership resources. So that's pretty much it for me. So I'm going to go ahead now and turn it over to our amazing new practitioner, Dr. Megan Williams.
Thank you, Deanna, and good evening, everyone. It is my pleasure to talk to you this evening about my experiences as a new practitioner mentor over the past 2 years. As a student pharmacist, I was involved in APhA-ASP as both a chapter president and a regional officer within APhA. APhA-ASP fostered my passion for both patient care and the pharmacy profession, and I knew when my final year as a student pharmacist rolled around, I didn't want my time with the organization to end. For me, the new practitioner mentor program was a way to stay involved in APhA and give back to an organization that I benefited from as a student pharmacist. Tonight, I'm going to go over with you the 2 experiences I've had as a new practitioner mentor, and then discuss some advice for getting the most out of these opportunities. I graduated from the University of Cincinnati in 2013, and I moved across the country to complete my PGY-1 residency in ambulatory care pharmacy practice. I was at first a little unsure of how I was going to manage to get tied into a chapter, but after a few emails and contact with an APhA-ASP friend who happened to be a past chapter president, I finally got hooked in with the Virginia Commonwealth University School of Pharmacy. I knew starting off in July this year was going to be challenging for all. The chapter had suddenly lost their chapter advisor of several years, and a new chapter advisor was stepping in on short notice to carry on with already scheduled events and activities for the year. When the new chapter advisor found out I was interested in serving as a new practitioner mentor, she welcomed my experience with open arms. Throughout the year, I helped the chapter by precepting various patient care projects, presenting at general body meetings, attending MRM, an annual meeting with the chapter, and holding a CV review workshop for members. Even though my time at VCU was short and only lasted the year of my residency, I was able to engage with student pharmacists on many levels. The second experience I will reflect on is one with the University of Cincinnati James L. Winkle College of Pharmacy. I was an alumni of this chapter and spent most of my career as a student pharmacist involved in fostering the activities of the chapter. Even though I moved across the country, I always kept some tie with what was going on in the chapter and was talking directly with the chapter president and advisor, and just enjoying hearing about what was going on with the chapter. When I knew I was moving back to the Midwest to take a new job, I knew immediately that I wanted to get tied back in with the chapter and stay involved as their new practitioner mentor. This past spring and summer, I've had the ability to not only attend annual meeting with the chapter and learn about all the great things that they were doing in their upcoming events, but also review reports, attend Summer Leadership Institute in Washington, D.C., where I got to meet the new chapter leaders and hear about upcoming events that they had for the chapter. So being a new practitioner mentor isn't all rainbows and butterflies. The new chapter in your career as a new practitioner mentor comes with many challenges and obstacles. For me, I knew when I graduated in 2013 that I wanted to stay involved with APhA. I loved my time in the organization as a student pharmacist, and I wanted to give back to the organization. However, motivation to stay involved, especially while balancing new responsibilities of residency and or a job, can be overwhelming. It also can be very confusing and frustrating to see how you can connect with a chapter that you may not be familiar with. When I moved to Richmond, Virginia, I was actually really scared. I didn't know what to expect. I came from being extremely involved in a chapter. I kind of knew what was going on with the chapter at VCU, but not a lot, just from ties with networking with their other chapter leaders. And I knew that they did things a little bit differently because they were a lot larger school of pharmacy than University of Cincinnati. It also initially can be very challenging communicating with leaders and advisors, especially when you don't have a relationship with those people. I was fortunate enough to use my network to get tied in and had an opportunity to get involved with leaders. However, when I was at VCU, at the very beginning of the year, things were going very smoothly and things were going really well. But as we all know, throughout the school year, as things get really busy, sometimes they can kind of forget that you're there and you're willing to help. So I made sure that I stayed in good communication with both the chapter leaders and the advisors when I felt that maybe they were forgetting that I was there and willing to help. To me, the key for success as a new practitioner mentor is really having a good relationship with the advisor. This person knows everything that is going on in the organization and may have a better utility for you than the chapter leaders may know about. I'm fortunate enough to be in contact with the chapter advisor at the University of Cincinnati, even when I went away to Richmond for the year. So I knew when I came back, I was only had an email away from being back in contact with the chapter and what was going on. Other keys are making sure that you're staying involved. Go to meetings, get to know the chapter leaders, be there for them when they need you to be there. Make sure that you're being energetic and fun when you are around them, and really exuding your passion for the profession and the organization that you're helping to serve. There are endless amounts of activities that you can help with as a new practitioner mentor. Deanna has gone over a lot of these already, but I have actually participated in all of these over the last 2 years. At my time at Virginia Commonwealth University, I helped precept several different patient care projects, including diabetes screenings, projects for American Pharmacists Month, going to a free clinic and doing blood pressure screenings with a couple of students. And this is a different experience than you've ever had as a student pharmacist, where you're actually the one there teaching the student pharmacist how to do a blood pressure for the first time, what the goals are for blood glucose, and how we can help the patients who maybe are coming in out of range. This, for me, at Virginia Commonwealth University, when I was precepting patient care projects, was really what it was all about. Getting my hands in and, doing, even though I do it every day at work, but going in there and teaching students things that maybe they're not being able to experience in the classroom. All new practitioner mentors have some sort of unique perspective that they're going to bring to the chapter. For me, when I went to VCU, I brought my leadership experience of being a past chapter president and stepping in when a chapter was having some difficulties and not knowing what the next step was, and providing a little bit of guidance for the chapter leadership and the chapter advisor. I've also done several CV reviews, both with VCU and University of Cincinnati. The one at VCU we did where the students sent in their CVs 2 or 3 weeks ahead of time. I had 15 or 16 CVs to review, and then we set up a couple hours one afternoon where they each had appointments and came in and sit down with me, and we reviewed their CVs one-on-one. And this was great because I got to know some of the students in the chapter a little bit better, and some of the things that they were reaching for and aiming for as goals down the road. Providing interview practice for students, going through a mock interview at the time of, when residency interviews are going up, or they're getting ready to have their job fair, and they are just wanting to know some ideas for interview questions. New practitioner mentors can also serve as judges or even participants at the National Patient Counseling Competition. I have done both with the University of Cincinnati. I have reviewed, they videotape all their entries and then are remotely sent out to the new practitioner mentors with a judging sheet. So that's a great way to stay involved even when you're not close to a chapter. And another way to stay involved when you may not be as close to a chapter would be report reviews. This can be done all electronically. I've had many chapter executive committee members send me reports to review to make sure that they're meeting all the requirements for APhA-ASP. Being a past APhA president and spending lots of time and years writing those reports, it's good to have another perspective, especially when they might be a little unsure. And you can also help them highlight some of their things that they have done well over the year. Communication is key. I can't hype on this one enough. It's really to have a successful relationship as a new practitioner mentor, you need to know what is going on in the chapter. And this really is some work. It can be some work on a new practitioner mentor side, making sure that you're staying keyed in and it's great if you can get on an email distribution list. I've been on the chapter executive committee distribution list for both chapters that I'm involved with. Making sure that you know when meetings are coming up and if you can make any of their events, that is great. When you become a new practitioner and out in the working world, your schedule can fill up quite quickly and you don't really realize it, whereas when you're in school, you're focusing on school, mostly school. So you might have a little bit more free time. But when you're working, sometimes it can be a little bit more difficult. So knowing ahead of time if events are coming up can really be key. Also, make sure you follow the chapters that you want to be involved with on their social media accounts, interact with their social media accounts on Facebook and Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, whatever it may be. The more engaged you are, the better. Also, don't be afraid to ask. If you realize that a chapter isn't utilizing you to the ability that you think or you want to be utilized, ask. Surely someone may have an idea of some way that you might be able to help them out. And Deanna went over most of this, but I think it's really important to help with professional development within the chapter. You can attend leader retreats and make sure that you're giving your opinion but not stepping on their toes and letting them actually come up with the ideas that the chapters are pursuing. Attending chapter meetings if you can. At VCU, I was fortunate enough that the College of Pharmacy was attached to the hospital. It was just a short walk around the corner, and usually the chapter had their meetings on lunch hour. So I would go over and just sit in the back and enjoy their meetings, see the speaker that they had brought in and what they were discussing. You can also present at chapter meetings, and I have done this as well, giving the spring membership drive presentation, talking to the student pharmacists about residency, job interviews, what's going on in your practice site, what type of practice you complete. There are endless opportunities there as well. If you can and are able, attending national and regional meetings with the students is a great way to bond and get to know the chapter members and chapter leaders. Also, if you've been to these meetings in the past, showing enthusiasm and trying to get more student pharmacists to attend those meetings is also great. I've given a presentation on annual meeting and how exciting and big it is and all the passion that comes out from leading a meeting like that, and I think that definitely can drive your attendance at your chapter to those meetings. As a new practitioner mentor, I desired for the chapters to kind of do what I had done and experienced as a student, but at first. But I soon learned that each chapter is unique and that you need to assess where you can be most beneficial. I learned quite a bit about leadership and how to work with others during my first year as a new practitioner mentor. And I think it's always this nice balance of, trying to figure out where you fit in and what the chapter really needs. And sometimes that can be challenging, but you also learn a lot from going through those struggles. APhA has a great tool that I would like to highlight right now for new practitioner mentors. As Deanna mentioned earlier, this is the New Practitioner Mentor Toolkit. It was developed, and you can find it on APhA's website, pharmacist.com, under the New Practitioner tab. This resource has all kinds of things in it for new practitioner mentors, events to get involved with, mentoring advice, and just different readings and stuff about how to get involved and stay involved. So I highly recommend that you guys, if you are a new practitioner mentor, that you pull this up and look at it and kind of know what's going on and how you can better yourself as a mentor. For you chapter leaders, I actually had a chapter president print this out and give it to me and go over it with me and said, you know, we set some goals and expectations for the year. I think that is also a great way for chapters to utilize this tool. So over the last 2 years as a new practitioner mentor, I've learned several lessons. First, that new practitioner mentors have great experiences to share, no matter what practice you come from. When I was at VCU, I was one of 4 new practitioner mentors at the time. We all had a different perspective on where we came from as students, but also the practice of pharmacy that we were going to be completing, and we all brought something different to the table. So no matter where you are coming from, you always have something to share with a chapter. It's extremely challenging to balance your involvement with the chapter and your job and residency responsibilities. Over the last couple of years, sometimes I feel like I may have bit off a little bit more than I could chew. I was so enthusiastic and wanting to stay involved with the APhA chapter that occasionally maybe I had let some of my other responsibilities go awry. So you really have to make sure that you maintain that balance between the two. Forming relationships with chapter leaders and advisors takes some time. Even though at VCU they welcomed me with open arms, I still felt a disconnect at times because I wasn't from, I wasn't from Richmond. I hadn't seen the activities take place before. And even returning back to the University of Cincinnati, where I had known some of the chapter leaders, but the younger leaders that are coming up now, I'm just meeting them and just starting to get to know them and figuring out how they want to utilize me in the future. It's also a good idea to understand the role of the organization on campus. This can differ from site to site, and if you come from a campus where APhA is the largest organization on campus, and you're going to move to a campus where APhA is just getting started, you're going to have a lot of different challenges and different utilization as time goes on. So just making sure you know where that organization fits in on the specific campus that you're working with can help you have a successful time as a new practitioner mentor. So these two are my reason for mentoring. I would like to share a quote with you first, and this comes from David Stoddard. It says, "Getting the most out of life isn't about how much you keep for yourself, but how much you pour into others." These two amazing individuals I met as a 3rd and 4th year student pharmacist at the University of Cincinnati. Jamie Kramer is to the left and Megan Hackerson to the right. In my this spring, I had the pleasure of seeing them both walk across the stage at the APhA Awards ceremony in San Diego, California, and receive awards for the UC chapter. I've watched them flourish over the last 4 years, and I'm really proud of the student pharmacists and pharmacists they have become. Their dedication to the profession, passion for patient care, drive to exceed expectations, and courage to break out of their comfort zones inspires me daily and is why I truly enjoy mentoring students. And lastly, if you don't know what you want to get out of the relationship, the chapters won't know how to utilize you. Make sure that you get tied in. When you get tied in with a chapter, you talk with the chapter leaders about how you want to be utilized, what your role as a new practitioner will be, and that will allow your relationship to foster, to flourish, and you guys will all be amazing rockstar new practitioner mentors. And that is all I have. At this time, I believe we will start taking some questions.
So thank you to Megan and Deanna. And good evening, everyone. My name is Crystal Atwell, and I serve as the Director of Student Development for APhA, as well as a liaison to several of the new practitioner standing committees and projects and programs. So I'm going to be moderating the questions tonight for Deanna and Megan. Please feel free to go ahead and type those in if you haven't already. We do have a couple. The first one, and I'll take this one, guys. The first question is, are the slides from this evening going to be available after the webinar? And the answer is yes. We'll be posting a link actually to a recording of tonight's session on the new practitioner page at pharmacist.com, so be on the lookout for that. And that's where you will, in addition, find all of the resources that Deanna and Megan had mentioned earlier in the presentation. So Deanna, this first question is going to be for you. And it says that you mentioned your chapter now has a large number of new practitioner mentors. Do you have any suggestions for how to best engage and manage a large number of mentors as the chapter continues to expand the ones that they have?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that it's definitely going to be, I would love to give that advice after this year is over, but as we continue to expand, I think that some of the things I mentioned earlier, including setting that first meeting prior to retreat so that we can get together, get to know each other, get to know the chapter leaders, inviting them to as many events as possible, and continue to have them come to things like social events and stuff like that so that they start to build a relationship with our mentors as kind of with our chapter members. I think that's really important. From an advisor standpoint, I do kind of know most of the mentors since I was one of the ones who invited them. So I want to make sure that I continue to connect with them over the year to make sure that they're best utilized and we don't forget about them.
Thank you, Deanna. I think one of the important tips that I would give as you grow the number of mentors is spend a little time getting to know them and their strengths, deciding maybe who's going to be in charge of what. That way everyone feels empowered with a certain area and knows very clearly what their expectations are from the chapter side of things. As Deanna mentioned, there's no shortage of opportunity and jobs, but I think sometimes leaving things up in the air, people feel hesitant to just jump in and get involved. So if you can set clear expectations in the beginning, both of the mentors and then having the chapter officers also understand some of what Megan talked about later in the balancing of responsibilities, I think that's where you'll see the greatest amount of success. And so, Megan, this next question is going to be for you. You mentioned a couple of ideas for when you can't make it to campus. So we have a number of mentors who are maybe a little geographically removed from that main campus or can't always be there at times when the chapters are meeting. So Megan, could you go over a few of those ideas that you shared again?
Definitely. That's a great question. Well, currently I'm living in Indianapolis, Indiana, and I am a new practitioner mentor for the University of Cincinnati, which is about a 2.5-hour drive from Indianapolis. So I definitely cannot make it to campus for a lot of their events, but I am kind of serving more on a virtual standpoint. So reviewing reports is a great way. You can do that over email. You can also attend chapter executive committees by conference call. So even if, I think this is a great idea for mentors, even if you are in the same city, sometimes those chapter executive meetings occur during school hours are on campus and a lot of mentors can't leave their job responsibilities, but they may have like a lunch hour that they can dial in for a phone call, and that's a great way to keep mentors engaged. I also think it's important to make an effort then to make sure you're going to maybe the MRMs or the national meetings and connecting with the student pharmacists from your chapters during those time periods when you guys are all in the same space.
All right, thank you, Megan. Our next question I'd actually like both of you to weigh in on. And the question is, do residency programs typically allow time for new practitioner mentors to travel to MRMs or other projects and programs the chapter is hosting? So from your experience in the residency world and being a new practitioner mentor, what kind of flexibility is there in terms of time commitment?
I'll go first. This is Megan. So when I was a resident at VCU, I did attend both MRM and annual meeting that year. Luckily, MRM was just a short drive away in DC. I did not make it there for the Friday activities, but I was there Saturday and Sunday. So that was the weekend, and it just happened to be one of my weekends off, so I was able to manage that. As far as annual meeting went, I did take some of my own personal vacation time to go to that meeting, but I think it's just dependent on the program. Some programs are very open and are wanting their students or their residents to be involved in organizations. Others kind of make it's more on your own time, and it's respectful both ways. Because you are there for the year to really work and complete that residency. So I think the biggest key is to be open with your residency director or whoever's doing your scheduling and let them know that you want to be involved and try to work out a way that you can get to those events if you want to attend.
And this is Deanna. I would definitely agree with everything that Megan said. When I did my community pharmacy residency, I did have that flexibility only because it was a requirement to go to APhA annual meetings, so I was really fortunate in that respect. And since MRM is over the weekend, and it wasn't also, fortunately, it wasn't too far away, so I was able to drive there and attend MRM as well when I was a resident. From an advisor standpoint, it's kind of funny that you've mentioned that. I just received an email recently from one of what we call our chief resident. So he coordinates a lot of the community service type activities for our hospital residents. And he emailed to say, it would be great if we had an opportunity to precept events. We may not be able to be mentors, but we would love to help out. So I think that there is some opportunities as long as the residency director is aware of it and the new practitioner feels that they have the time and commitment to be able to do that.
So Deanna, for chapters that are maybe just getting started with their mentoring programs, would you recommend that the advisor maybe reach out to any of the residency programs they're working with in the area to maybe explain from the faculty side expectations of new practitioner mentors?
Yeah, so when we first started with our mentors, and this is actually a little bit before my time, we typically reached out to very active chapter leaders, and after they graduated, we asked them to come back. Another one is we almost always ask the community pharmacy residents at our school to also be involved as mentors, so that's a great place to start. I think it really could go either way. It could be something that the advisors take more of a role on. I personally think it's a little easier, especially with my role as being part of NPAC and being part of our Maryland Pharmacists Association New Practitioner Network. But this is also, again, like I mentioned on the webinar earlier, that's something that the chapter leaders could get involved with. You know who your past officers and active members are and who is staying in the area. So that might be a great place to start as well.
All right, thank you both for your feedback. So we have one more question, and I think I'd like to hear from both of you on this one as well. And then after we answer this question, we're going to jump into just a few announcements that we want to make sure all of you are aware of as you move into the fall term and heading back to campus. But first, our final question is, if you are a mentor and you've reached out to Tom English, you have been assigned to a school, but you're having trouble getting in touch with the advisors or maybe the chapter leaders on campus, what would you recommend a mentor do?
This is Megan. I think the first advice would be, if you're close to campus, try to go to campus and see if you can find that advisor's office and just see if they have office hours, or sometimes that is an easier way to get in contact with a professor or someone who is on campus all the time. The other one would be reach out to your network. This is how I got tied in with Virginia Commonwealth University, was really reaching out to a friend who had been a chapter president and seeing if she could give me the contact information or additional contact information for a contact at the chapter.
And this is Deanna. I think that Megan really kind of touched on the points that I was going to mention as well. The only other thing I would like to add would be that this is kind of like a great time of the year to potentially get in touch with them if you've been having trouble. Since there is that transition to new executive board members, you might have a slightly easier time hopefully getting in touch with them.
I would also suggest that if you're having trouble, please let myself or Tom English or a member of the New Practitioner Advisory Committee know. We do our best to keep your contact information for the chapter up to date, but sometimes in the transition process, there's a delay notifying APHA, whether it is a student leader or a chapter advisor who's maybe switching positions or moving to a different institution. So if you're having trouble, also let us know. We can then make sure that the information you have is the most up to date. And if not, we can also then do some outreach to the school on your behalf. So with that, we're going to jump into a couple of announcements. So Deanna, if you'd be so kind as to advance to our next slide for me. So we know that there are great new practitioners out there doing things in your campus and in your communities, and we want to make sure that those individuals get recognized. So we want to make sure everyone's aware of our APHA Distinguished New Practitioner Awards. Now this is something that you can either nominate, perhaps your chapter mentor, or you can also self-nominate for this award. But the important part is that you are within those first 5 years of graduation, and you've really gone above and beyond when it comes to mentorship and serving your community and the pharmacy profession. These applications are going to be due September 1st, and the recipient will be recognized in Baltimore at APHA 2016. And so the link is there on the slide where you can get the full application information. But please don't hesitate to nominate someone outstanding for this award. And so the next opportunity that we want to make sure that you're aware of are some of our leadership opportunities. So serving as a new practitioner mentor is one of them, but there are many, many different ways to serve if you're looking to get more involved within APHA leadership and kind of develop and hone your skills, as well as serving the profession. So from helping lead the direction of the APHA New Practitioner Network as a part of the academy, or as part of the advisory committee, as well as serving as a part of either our APPM or APRS academy in one of their new practitioner roles. We also have opportunities for you to kind of get your hands dirty and do some of the work on behalf of the New Practitioner Network through one of our standing committees. So we have more information on the New Practitioner section of pharmacist.com, details about what each of the committees involve in terms of commitment and what you need to do to apply. So be sure you check those out, and if you're interested in applying or you need more information, the contact information for Tom English as well as our New Practitioner Advisory Committee can also be found on the website, and these guys would be happy to answer any questions that you might have. The next item that I want to bring to your attention is just staying connected. So tonight's webinar was one way for you to gain information, but certainly the APHA New Practitioner Network Facebook page is another one. The Communications Committee of the new NPN works very hard to keep you up to date and informed on all things related to new practitioners. So if you haven't liked the page yet, make sure that you do that. And then our final two announcements are related to the APhA-ASP side of things. So Megan mentioned heading out to MRM. So the dates are on the screen there for you. All of the information can be found on pharmacist.com. If you're interested in attending, you are more than welcome to attend. We just ask that you shoot Tom English an email. We also have opportunities for you to serve on panels, to host roundtables. There may even be presentation opportunities available. So if you're interested and you'd like to come out to MRM, we want to have you there. So more details can be found on the APhA-ASP section of pharmacist.com. You can find the schedule there as well as hotel information. So be sure to check that out. Or if you're not able to attend, make sure that you follow up with the students afterwards to see how their experience was. And then I think our final announcement is about a new initiative that APHA is bringing you, and that is for the APhA-ASP chapters. We are partnering with McNeil and Scholastic to launch the OTC literacy campaign. So McNeil and Scholastic have developed many, many resources focused on educating 5th and 6th graders as well as parents, teachers, and nurses who are in this tween category. Statistics are pretty alarming for when kids become aware of medications and self-medicating. And so as pharmacists, who better than us to help educate them on how to work with their parents before they take medications and how to understand a label and what medications mean, and of course safe storage to help keep those 5th and 6th graders safe and only using medication when they're supposed to with a parent or with a nurse. So that's a project that the chapters are going to be working on starting this fall. We wanted to make sure that you're aware in case you have the interest in OTC products or when the students start coming to you for questions. There is a page on the APhA-ASP section of the website where you can find all of the information. Thanks to McNeil and Scholastic, a lot of the materials and resources are already made, so the students don't have to start from scratch, but we certainly want to encourage their creativity and to tailor to their communities. So be on the lookout for lots of questions about how they can make this project unique and working with them on it over this coming year. And so I think that is our final slide. We did have just one more question that came in for tonight. And so I think, Deanna, maybe this is a good one for you. If mentors have specific questions throughout the year or want more feedback, who should they contact?
I guess it depends on what feedback you're looking for. I think that a lot of times they might feel more comfortable asking the advisor, but you can definitely potentially reach out to the advisor, and the advisor can make that decision to see if we can do that kind of feedback together with some of the chapter leaders.
Absolutely. And as we mentioned earlier, please feel free to contact Tom English for the New Practitioner Advisory Committee. Those guys are great resources for you as well. So with that, Deanna, I'll turn it back over to you to close us out.
All right. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us tonight. And again, if you have any further questions, please feel free to reach out to Tom or to one of the New Practitioner Advisory Committee members. Thank you so much.